ladies and gentlemen, I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Today we take another look at the T-28, an American tank destroyer in Tier 8, formerly known as one of the worst tanks in the game. Wargaming recently buffed this tank. They buffed the armor profile, which I think was an absolute must. Honestly guys, this tank, if no one has played this tank, at least before the buff, it's awful. It was awful, so bad. And when streaming, this was one of the top tanks chosen by you guys to play, especially playing it stock or something like that, just to see people suffer. And you didn't even need to play it stock for you to suffer in the tank. It was just a poor tank. It's very slow. The armor profile wasn't the greatest at all, and anyone could deal with it. Anyone, and it was just a bad tank. Now Wargaming have buffed the tank. They have buffed the armor. Has it made a difference? Yes, it has. In a way, it has made a little bit of a difference, but not too much. Not too much in my opinion. The armor profile, it does work against certain tanks. It does work against some tanks. Now, if you're up against Tier 9 or Tier 8 heavies, they will easily go through your armor, very easily. And a lot of tanks switch to the premium rounds, the heat or APCR, and then anyone will still go through you like butter. But I don't mind that. I don't mind people going, being able to pen you, as long as it's they have to switch to camo. If you get Tier 7s or even Tier 8s that can just easily go through your front plate with AP, then yeah, I just don't think it's great. But at least now they do have to switch to the premium ammunition to get that pen. It still, for me, doesn't perform up to scratch. Now, if you get flanked like this game is literally a minute, 2 minutes long for me. After 2 minutes, I was back into the garage and just debating whether I should ever play this tank again. Some people do think that the tank does perform better now. I think his Royal Fatness said it's pretty good now. And the armor profile is okay against Tier 7s. In Tier 7s, then they are going to struggle to penetrate you. But in situations like this, we do have the speed boost. Yeah, we fair enough, we do have that. Yes, we can bounce the odd shot. We're getting shot there from these Progettos and the lightweights. Against these tanks, yeah, as you can see, we've blocked 750 damage. But when people switch to the premium ammunition and they aim, then that is when you're not going to bounce much shots. And you can just see here, we only get 700 damage. We get completely ripped apart, but we have managed to block 1,000 damage in that time. So you can see that you can now bounce shots. You can now bounce shots. It was just unfortunate that my team came this way, the enemy team went the other way, and we just got absolutely wrecked. So I do want to say thank you to Noraz there, a patron of mine, to help me get this footage. So the armor profile, you can see this is what it is now. So effective, you can the front plate is around 230 mil. You can get it to 260 there and 250. Depending on your gun depression and your angles, so you can get that front plate quite high. 250 mil, that's still decent enough to withdraw a lot of tanks AP, a lot of tanks in Tier 8, especially Tier 7. Most Tier 7s will not go through your front plate when you're angled correctly, unless they switch to the premium rounds. So the tank is still poor. In my opinion, the tank is still poor. They have buffed, yes, they have buffed the armor profile, but for me, it's just way too slow. Really, the traverse is really slow. The tank itself is really slow. I know the line is slow itself. Of course, you have the T95 in the Tier 9 version of this. That's really slow as well. But for me, I think it could have more more armor, a little bit more armor, especially maybe, even if it's not more armor, maybe just give it some more traverse or something. I definitely think it needs something else. For this tank, it's only good in certain situations. Of course, you have to go hold down. It is a sniping tank because you're not performing well when you're front line. It just doesn't have that speed, it doesn't have that traverse, and obviously if you get a tank that comes behind you, you're just going to get absolutely ripped apart. People can HG you, they can HG you from the side, they can obviously HG you from the rear. So you always have to directly face the enemy team. That is a must, an absolute must, is making sure you are facing the enemy team. But of course that is quite difficult to do when your tank is so freaking slow. You can see it here, the traverse is just absolutely awful. Now this game, you can still perform well in the tank. You can still perform well in tank. Put the tank in the right situation, and you can have a decent battle, which we're going to see here from our guy Jimpa from North. He performs it really, really well, but he's in a situation, and you can see this whole game, he's always making sure that he's got some form of cover. He's not going into the open. You can always see he's not looking at going left sort of just yet, because he will be in the open until he knows that he is able to do that. So the E75 there, he was just about to take him out, and at this point in the game there's a one-shot IS-3, so there's only 2 other tanks now, and one of them is the Tortoise, which is also a slow tank. So he's going the way. You can see he was going right here, so he's always making sure he has some form of cover, and that is an absolute must. Don't allow the medium tanks or even the heavy tanks to be able to circle you. Get yourself into the position where you can just directly face the enemy team. Now, I mean, he is getting shot. He hasn't bounced anything yet, but when the time's right, he is gonna bounce. I mean, timing is perfect this game, and he does actually bounce the Tortoise. So he's not bounced too much. I mean, he's bounced 1 shell, but that 1 shell was when it proved to be vital. That 1 shell. I don't think it would make a difference to the outcome of the game, to be honest. I mean, it is now a 5 versus 1. There's a WZ 120 left. So yeah, you really need to put the tank into a decent position to be able to do well in this tank. And even putting the tank in a decent position, 9 out of 10, I still don't think this tank will perform that well. I do still think it is the worst tech tree tank, especially one of the worst tech tree tanks in the game. Is it worth grinding? Yes, of course it is worth grinding, because you do lead to the E3, and again, Jimpa is going to get that all-important vital bounce at the end. So yes, it can perform well even after the buff. It's don't rely too much on that armor, because people will just switch to gold. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Grind this tank as quick as possible to get to the E3. I'm Meadsy. See ya.